Hello everyone and welcome to a new video. For today's adventure, we're going to be checking out some interesting roadside oddities in central Jersey. We're going to be throwing it back to some old school, weird New Jersey locations. If you know, you know. But anyway, let's go check these places out. So now our first stop brings us to Roosevelt Park in Edison, New Jersey. If you know where the Menlo Park Mall is, this park is literally right next to the park. And right here, we have this very impressive Veterans Memorial. We'll take a quick look at this. But right on the other side of this is one of the most interesting and remarkable pieces of public art in all of New Jersey. Probably one of my favorite pieces of public art. But we'll take a look at this memorial here first. Yeah, so this is celebrating those who served. I think this is for just all conflicts and wars, just a memorial for all of that. And this here, this is a fountain. They don't have it running right now, but I've been here in the past, and they've actually had water cascading down. It's a very beautiful memorial here. Yeah, unfortunately it's not running, but this is a very lovely fountain. And so now up ahead, we have another fountain, and this one is really interesting and unique. This is a sculpture called Light Dispelling Darkness. It was built in 1938 by an artist named Wayland Gregory. And it was actually a publicly funded art piece during the Great Depression to create jobs. And the whole theme of this is we have this centerpiece which celebrates the virtues of mankind, and it's holding up the globe. And all along here are the evils of humanity, the evils of the world, and they're all being dispelled by these virtues here in the center. So this is actually a fountain. It's not running. I don't think I've ever seen it running in all the times I've been to this one, so I am actually going to climb down in here so we can get a closer look. We're going to start with the centerpiece. I believe this one is meant to represent industry. We have these stern figures, workers here, and a zeppelin up above them, if you see that. And I believe this one represents science. So we're very close to Edison Labs, where Thomas Edison made all of his world-changing innovations. And this is a representation of science. Looks like, I believe that's, what's the name for that? You can see those two poles there with the electricity current going through them. I'm not probably saying that wrong, but yeah, we have that representation of science there. And we'll come around to the other side here. Don't worry, we're gonna look at the creatures here in just a second. But I believe this one, I believe it represents either education or diplomacy or peace. And we have these people at a table holding books, looking like they're, making achievements through common ground without conflict. Very interesting. And it's that turn of the century Art Deco design. And let's get another angle of industry, of workers, the working class, who make everything possible in this world. Yeah, we have agriculture and industry. And up above, we have the globe, and that's terracotta, glazed terracotta. And now, terracotta is not the most durable of building materials, so you can see some deterioration on it. And this was actually restored, I want to say sometime in the early 2000s. It's been here a long time, and it has degraded over time. But there was a restoration effort that took place here, and it's almost looking like it might need another one in the future. But I'm glad that this statue still exists. And anyway, let's look at the really interesting, remarkable part of it. These horrific creatures representing the evils of the world. And so now we have the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse here. And I believe this one represents war. And if you look at it, it has sort of like this Roman-style helmet with a crest on it, but it also is wearing a World War I style gas mask. You know, 1930s, just after World War I had ended and World War II had not begun yet. It was still very fresh in people's mind, but it's, again, horrific representation of war. We have this shield here with this skull, and what almost looks like blood, even though it's like a bright pinkish color. Let's look at the tail of the horse here, and the horse's face. Yeah, this is one of the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse. Let's walk around to the other side. Such an interesting and unique art style. And I just think this is the coolest. I have to come and visit this every once in a while. This one is the Horseman Death. And we can see here, it's the Grim Reaper with its scythe. You can see the scythe there. Let's walk around to the front of it. Look at this horse. Horrific horse face. Yeah, look at that. And you can see where it's kind of chipping. Yeah, hopefully they do make another effort to restore this. But let's get a look at the Grim Reaper, the Horseman of Death, riding on that lightning bolt. Very terrifying. And this one represents the Horseman of Pestilence, of Plague. And we can see this sickly, emaciated figure covered in boils. It almost reminds me of old Roman art with those sort of like horrific faces here. And down here, this looks like it may have been maybe some of the original terracotta glaze there. Let's look at the horse on this one. Yeah, so we have a horse covered in pox, covered in boils. And now over here, this one represents the sin of greed. I believe this is greed. I could be wrong about that. But look at these faces. Wow. Isn't that terrifying? Now, tell me, are there any other public art pieces that have such a creepy, weird vibe to them? I can't think of any. And that's why this one is so remarkable to me. Just look at this beast of 7 heads, almost biblical. And this, what's on its back, it's kind of something that's sort of kind of lost to time. This is a stock ticker tape. So it sort of represents like the greed of capitalism here. Yeah, let's look at these faces a little bit. And this is the Horseman of Famine. Another just creepy, emaciated figure here with the hourglass of time, or the scales of time, I should say. So crazy looking. Absolutely love this piece. It's just so unique, so weird. And we have one more over here. So I think this one represents greed, and the other one over there represents materialism. 2 things that are very, very similar. But this one represents greed, and it's these 2 octopi, locked together in a struggle. Just kind of showing like the pointlessness of greed and selfishness. You know, these two figures that could just release and both live peacefully, but they're locked in a pointless struggle that's going to claim them both. Yeah, so this is Light Dispelling Darkness. Absolutely amazing, unique piece of art. I'm happy that it's still here after all these years, that there were efforts to restore it. Hopefully in the future, there will be more efforts to maintain them. If I have any ability to help that out, I will do my part. But this is awesome, this piece here. And here we have some historical information on the fountain. We can see a picture of them creating it, sculpting it. Yeah, 1937 to 1938 is when they constructed it as part of the Works Project Administration by Franklin Delano Roosevelt to create jobs during the Great Depression. And here we have the artist with materialism. And this was in 1971, just a few years before his death, the last time he visited it. And you can see how it was starting to deteriorate there. Here's another historic picture of it. Yeah, and he had other art pieces. I'm not sure if they're still surviving to this day, but he was a very interesting artist, made some very unique pieces. Yeah, and this gets into the restoration effort of the sculpture. And when did this happen? Oh, this was 2005 that they restored it. Yeah, you could see just how damaged it had gotten and how much stuff was missing from it. And here they are removing it to be restored. And again, it's not in the greatest shape still. If there are restoration efforts in the future, I hope they take place, because I want this to remain into the future for everyone to enjoy. I remember when I was a teenager, maybe like 13 or 14, I was obsessed with Weird NJ magazine, and I would go to the Barnes & Noble at the Menlo Park Mall, and I would buy issues of the magazine there. And I remember, as I was driving home, well, I was riding home, I was in the back seat, I was reading one of the magazines, I was reading about this piece as we were driving out of the mall, and I looked out the window, and I could see the globe, and I was like, wow, what a coincidence, this weird piece, it's actually right out there. And so when I was finally able to drive on my own, I went and visited this thing. Awesome thing. I love this so much. So if you're ever at the Menlo Park Mall, ever in Edison, just make a stop by at Roosevelt Park and check this out. All right, our next stop is Thomas Edison Center at Menlo Park. Now, this is where Thomas Edison had his laboratories, where he developed all the innovations that changed the world. And here in this park, they have a memorial tower dedicated to him. And at the top of it is actually one of the largest light bulbs in the world. It was at one point considered the largest light bulb, but I think in 2021, they actually have one in Oklahoma that is actually larger. But yeah, look at this tower. Very impressive. And here he is, Thomas Edison, who invented the light bulb, the phonograph, so many important inventions. And let's look at this tower here. So this tower was built in 1938, just 7 years after Thomas Edison's death. And that is actually a light bulb made out of Pyrex glass on top, and it does indeed light up. Maybe sometime I'll come back here at night and we can see it lit up. But right now we can kind of see how the light's catching it, and you can see kind of the light showing through that. Let's take a walk up to it here. Yeah, just this beautiful Art Deco design. Very impressive. And I'm not sure what's in here. I think this is a small museum that's open on certain days. Oh, look at that. There's actually an old style light bulb in there. Very interesting. On July 1st, 1937, there was placed under this marker A copper box containing the names of the officers and directors of the Thomas Alva Edison Foundation, incorporated members of the Edison pioneers, and various historical records. So kind of an interesting little time capsule down there. Let's walk around, see some of these plaques. Thomas Alva Edison. And we have a quote about him. Edison Tower is a gift to the Thomas Alva Edison Foundation on behalf of the Edison pioneers. I guess these are like little vents here. Edison here invented the phonograph. There's a lot of really interesting Thomas Edison museums. I believe his laboratory is still, it's a museum now. I think I went there as a kid. Let me know down in the comments if that's something you'd like to see me cover on this channel. There's a whole history of Thomas Edison here. I'm not going to read the entire thing, but if ever you are in Edison and you see this on the side of the road, stop on by and take a look at one of the tallest light bulbs in the world. And this is a little museum they have here. It's closed today, unfortunately, so I can't go in, but look at this mural of Thomas Edison and his inventions. Here we have some vintage photos of Thomas Edison's Menlo Park Invention Factory. All these world-changing inventions, they all happened here in New Jersey. Crazy to think, you know? And look at this little kiosk with these light bulbs on top. Yeah, and this kind of gets into the invention of the light bulb. Kind of crazy how we don't even really use like actual light bulbs anymore now that it's LEDs. But you know, like all the infrastructure, the way it's implemented, it's all still the same as the light bulb. So you know that we wouldn't have that if not for the light bulb doing it first. And just right over here, we have the foundation of Thomas Edison's office. Right here is where it stood. Crazy to think about these things. Oh, and check it out, just on the other side of the road here, we have a giant light bulb. Okay, so this is in celebration of 25 years of Lighthouse, which I believe is some sort of program for young people. But another cool roadside light bulb to complement this massively tall one over here. And so for our final stop of today's adventure, we're in the back parking lot of the AMC movie theater in East Brunswick to check out the gravesite of Mary Ellis right here in the parking lot. And so it's kind of built up and it's a little difficult to see. I'm going to reach up over top here and give you a look at this grave here. And so this is where Mary Ellis and 7 members of her family are actually buried. And Mary Ellis was a landowner. She lived 1750 to 1828. She was a landowner and a feminist. She was an advocate for women's rights to vote. And according to legend, she fell in love with a sea captain, and he promised to return to her one day, but never did. And she spent the rest of her life waiting for him to return. And that legend was the inspiration for the song Brandy from the 70s, if you happen to know that one. Brandy, you're a fine girl. What a good wife you will be. But anyway, this gravesite, it's been historically preserved. At one point, this was a flea market here where the AMC is now. And there were actually plans to relocate this grave a couple times, but they've kept it up, preserved, and at the same elevation. So you can see how it's kind of elevated up here. I'm going to try and be stupid and climb up on this, give you guys a good look at this. So just give me 1 second here. It's not very climbable, but we're gonna see what we can do here. Okay, and here we go. We can get a good look at it. Mary Ellis, 1750 to 1828. Oh, okay. I just wanted to get a better look at it. Security's yelling at me for climbing on it. I was just wasn't going up on it. I was just trying to get a good look at it. But yeah, getting yelled at. Well, anyway, that's where we're going to wrap up today's adventure. Hope you enjoyed this look at some oddball sites here in central New Jersey. Central New Jersey, it does indeed exist, and we are standing in it right now. But anyway, hope you enjoyed the video. If you liked it, be sure to give it a like, and be sure to subscribe to see me on more adventures in the future. If you'd like to support the channel, consider becoming a channel member, or check out my Patreon page, where I have exclusive videos you can only see there. Thank you for watching the video, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.